Years ago, when I was still a young boy, one of my favorite things to do was to hang out with my friends, throw parties, and sleep over at their place. I have known Ethan for almost 9 years before that night. We met in middle school, the kind of friendship that didn't need effort. We grew up together. Same classes, same dumb jokes, same weekends playing video games until our eyes hurt. By the time we were adults, he felt more like a brother than a friend. That's why I didn't hesitate when he invited me to sleep over at his new place. Ethan had just moved into an old 2-story house on the edge of town. It used to belong to his aunt, who passed away the year before. The house was cheap, fully furnished, and came with a long history he didn't really talk about. That Friday night, I packed an overnight bag and drove over around 8 p.m. The house sat at the very end of a dead street. Tall trees surrounded the yard, their branches hanging low like crooked fingers. When I pulled into the driveway, I felt it immediately. That strange pressure in your chest, like the air is heavier than it should be. Ethan waved from the porch, smiling like always. Seeing him helped shake the feeling. Inside, the house smelled old, not dirty, just aged. Dust, wood, something faintly metallic. The furniture looked untouched, like no one had lived there in decades. The walls were covered with faded family photos I didn't recognize. I pointed at one and asked, "Who's that?" Ethan shrugged. "No idea. Aunt never talked about family." We ordered pizza, cracked beers, and caught up like we always did. The house felt normal again. Loud, lived in, safe. Until the first sound. Around 10:30 p.m., while we were watching TV in the living room, something thumped upstairs. Not footsteps, not creaking. It sounded like something heavy being dragged across the floor. Ethan muted the TV as we listened. "Old house," he said quickly, "settling." I nodded, but my stomach tightened. I had grown up in old houses. They creak, but they don't drag. We brushed it off. By midnight, we decided to sleep. Ethan showed me the guest room at the end of the hallway upstairs. The hallway felt colder than the rest of the house. The guest room was small. One window, heavy curtains, a bed that looked like it hadn't been used in years. When I dropped my bag, dust puffed into the air. As Ethan turned to leave, I noticed something. The closet door was slightly open. Inside, it was pitch black. "Hey," I said. "Have you ever checked the closet?" "Man, don't start. I don't need you freaking yourself out." He closed the door and turned off the light. I lay there listening to the house settle. Pipes knocking, wood popping, normal sounds. Then at exactly 1:17 a.m., I heard it again. Dragging. This time it was closer. It came from the hallway outside my door. Slow, deliberate, like something being pulled across the floor by someone very tired. I held my breath. The sound stopped right outside my room. Then the floor creaked. One step, another. I grabbed my phone and texted Ethan, "Hey, you awake?" He replied, "Yeah." I asked him, "Did you hear that?" He replied me, "Hear what?" My heart dropped. Before I could respond, my bedroom door handle twitched. Just once. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. After a few seconds, the handle went still. Then I heard footsteps move away, down the hallway, into the stairs. I stayed frozen until morning. At 6 a.m., sunlight filled the room. I bolted out and ran to Ethan's room. He looked terrible, pale, dark circles under his eyes. "I didn't sleep," he said, before I could speak. He told me that around 1 a.m., he heard someone whispering his name from the bottom of the stairs. When he checked, no one was there. We decided to laugh it off. Daylight makes everything seem stupid. That was our mistake. That night was worse. We stayed up later this time, talking in the kitchen. Around 2 a.m., the temperature dropped suddenly. Our breath fogged. Then we heard footsteps above us. Clear, heavy, walking back and forth. Ethan grabbed a flashlight. "Nope," he said. "I'm done pretending." We went upstairs together. The hallway lights were off. The guest room door, my door, was open. Inside, the bed sheets were pulled back. Something was sitting on the mattress. Not a person. It looked like a human shape, but too thin, too tall. Its head was bowed, facing the floor. Its arms hung down like they were too heavy to lift. The flashlight that we had went off. The thing slowly raised its head. Ethan screamed. The thing vanished instantly, just gone, like smoke. We ran downstairs and locked ourselves in the living room until sunrise. We didn't talk. We didn't sleep. When morning came, we packed my bag and I left. Before I reached my car, Ethan grabbed my arm. My aunt died in this house, he said quietly, sitting on the bed. How long had she been dead? I asked. 3 days, he said. I went into my car as I drove out, and since then I never slept at his house again. 2 months later, Ethan moved out. He said the thing started standing at the foot of his bed every night, sometimes smiling, sometimes angry. That sleepover was the scariest thing I have ever experienced, because whatever was in that house knew us. I had been friends with Lauren for almost 12 years before I slept at her house. We met when we were 11, same bus stop, same awkward phase, same secrets whispered during class while pretending to take notes. We grew up together, drifted apart a little after high school, then reconnected in our mid-20s like no time had passed. Lauren had always been private about her home life. She never hosted sleepovers as kids, never invited anyone over. When I asked why, she would shrug and say her parents were weird about guests. I accepted that. When Lauren called me crying one Thursday night, I knew something was wrong. I don't want to be alone, she said. Can you come over, please? Just for the night. I hesitated. I lived an hour away, but she sounded terrified. I'll stay. I'll sleep over. You promise you won't leave if things get strange, she said. That should have been my warning. Her house was in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where every home looks the same. Perfect lawns, warm porch lights, safety. But when I stepped inside, the air felt stale, like it had been trapped for years. Her parents were gone for the weekend, she said, visiting relatives. The house was silent except for the ticking of a clock somewhere deep inside. Lauren locked the door behind me. I noticed immediately. Every door in the house had a lock on the outside. Bedrooms, bathroom, even the pantry. Why do your doors lock from the outside? I asked. Lauren avoided my eyes. Old house, she said. Dad was paranoid. We ordered food, watched movies, tried to pretend everything was normal. But Lauren kept glancing at the hallway. She kept the lights on. Around midnight, she finally told me the truth. My family doesn't sleep, she said quietly. I laughed at first, but she didn't. When I was little, I used to wake up every night at 3 a.m. Someone would be standing in my doorway, not touching me, just watching. My smile faded. I told my parents. They said it happened to them too. Then my grandmother, and her mother before her. It only happens when someone sleeps. I wanted to leave, but she was shaking, so I stayed. We slept in her room, lights on, backs against the wall. Lauren insisted we stay awake. At 2:47 a.m., the house made a sound I can't fully describe. It wasn't loud. It was like the house exhaled. Then I heard footsteps, slow, bare, moving through the hallway. Lauren grabbed my hand so hard it hurt. Don't look, she whispered. The footsteps stopped outside her door. The handle didn't move. Instead, something scratched gently against the wood, like fingernails testing the surface. Then a voice spoke. It sounded like Lauren. Can I come in? My blood ran cold. Lauren covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. The voice repeated it, softer this time. Closer to the door. Please, I'm scared. I felt tears slide down my face. Then the lock on the door clicked. Unlocked. From the outside. The door slowly opened. The thing standing there looked like Lauren, but wrong. Its eyes were too open. Its mouth stretched wider than humanly possible. Its head tilted in a way that made my neck ache just looking at it. It stepped inside. The room smelled like damp soil. Lauren sobbed silently beside me. The thing crawled closer, movements jerky and unnatural. It leaned down inches from my face and whispered, "You're not family." Then it smiled, and vanished. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked again. We didn't sleep that night. At sunrise, Lauren told me her grandmother died in her sleep. So did her mother's sister. Every death happened in that house. And when it's done, it takes someone. I left as soon as the sun was fully up. Lauren moved out a month later. Last year I got a call from her father that Lauren had died in her sleep. That sleepover was the scariest thing I have ever experienced. And losing my best friend Lauren made it even worse. This happened during one of my visits to a friend's place, and after that incident, I stopped talking to anyone from that night again. Not because we drifted apart, but because none of us can look at each other without remembering what we saw. We were 5 friends who had known each other since freshman year of college. 4 guys and 1 girl. We were inseparable. Same classes, same parties, same late night talks about nothing and everything. Marcus was the one who suggested the sleepover. He had just moved into an off-campus apartment near the edge of town. Old building, cheap rent. He joked that the landlord was probably hiding bodies in the walls. We laughed. Marcus had always been off. Not in a bad way. Quiet, observant. The type who noticed things other people didn't. But he was loyal, kind, and had been there for all of us when things got rough. That's why we trusted him. That Friday night, all 5 of us came over with sleeping bags, drinks, and bad horror movies. The apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that looked abandoned, except for a few dim lights. The hallway outside his door smelled like mold and rust. Inside, the place was cleaner than expected. Almost too clean. No decorations. No personal photos. Just furniture and blank walls. I asked him, "You just move in?" He nodded. Landlord left everything. That should have been my first warning. We drank, laughed, played games. Around midnight, one of the guys, Evan, noticed something strange. "Why are there locks on the bedroom doors?" he asked. Marcus stiffened. "For privacy," he said quickly. There were 4 bedrooms. Marcus told us we could each take one and sleep separately. Sleepovers were supposed to be loud, crowded, and comforting. "I don't like sleeping around people," he said. Eventually, we agreed. At around 1 a.m., I lay down on the mattress in the far bedroom. The room smelled faintly like old coins. The ceiling fan wasn't working. The air was thick and warm. At exactly 2:03 a.m., I woke up. I didn't know why at first. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. Someone else's. Slow, controlled, right outside my door. I sat up, heart pounding. "Hello," I whispered. The breathing stopped. Then footsteps moved away. I grabbed my phone and texted the group chat. I asked, "Is someone walking around?" Evan replied, "Yeah, I hear it too." Jake said, "I heard the same thing too." Liam said, "I thought it was Marcus." My stomach dropped. A few seconds later, Marcus replied back and said, "Please lock your doors." I locked mine immediately. That's when the scratching started, from the inside of my room. Soft at first, like fingernails dragging across the wall behind the bed. I froze. The scratching moved lower. Then I realized something horrifying. It was coming from inside the wall. I heard a muffled voice. It sounded like crying, then screaming. It stopped suddenly. My door handle rattled violently. Someone was trying to get in. I screamed for help. Then everything went silent. Minutes passed, maybe hours. I don't know. At dawn, we all gathered in the living room, except Evan. His bedroom door was open. Inside, the room was destroyed. Mattress torn apart. Walls scratched deep enough to expose wood. There was blood. Not a little. Too much blood. Marcus stood in the doorway, shaking. "I told you to lock the doors," he said. Police came, paramedics, questions. Evan's body was found inside the wall behind his bedroom. The coroner said the wounds looked like animal attacks. But there were no animals in that building. They ruled it an accident. Delusion and panic. Marcus disappeared 2 days later. The landlord refused to talk about it. The building was condemned. Months later, I received a letter in the mail, with no return address. Inside was a single note. "It only comes out when guests sleep." Immediately I saw that, I stopped sleeping over at my friend's place again, because that sleepover was the scariest thing I have ever experienced in my lifetime. If you have watched this story till this moment, I want to specially congratulate you for making it this far. You are indeed brave. For more videos like this one, please make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can be able to receive our videos whenever we post them. Thank you once again, and sleep with one eye open.